Hello everybody, Reggie Time here, and we're going to be looking at a video. A potential new player I'm going to be working with, Morten, has sent me of his player 5 and L at the 888 snap tables. I was supposed to be doing a full ring video, that was next in the queue, but when I went to download it today, the file had been deleted, and I'm not sure who it was who sent it to me. So if you were the person who sent me the full ring video, please resend it, or please make another video and send it, because when I went to download it, the WeTransfer people said the file had been deleted, so sorry about that. For those of you who don't know, I do have a Facebook group. If you'd like to join that, please do come along. The link is below the video. If you do come along, don't be a dickhead, and we'll all be fine, it'll all be good. And if you do come along, don't be someone who just wants to spam their own product and not contribute. I don't mind people sharing links, sharing things they do, but if that's all you do and you don't actually contribute to anything, any other conversations in the group, then you'll quickly be leaving the group. And finally, I am back in the business of trying to find a handful of people to work with. I'm maybe looking for 2 more people to work with between now and the end of June. So if you have been considering getting some sessions with me, then now's a good time to reach out and set something up. Right, without further ado, let's get into the video. I haven't watched any of this. I'm watching it for the first time as you guys are, so everything is as fresh to me as it'll be fresh to you when you see it. I haven't looked at the hands and then come up with some really cool answers to, I would have done this based on the result of the hand. I don't know anything that's going to happen, and that's the way I think it should be. So we're going to start off here. This guy has forhodged, which is raising whatever language Morten speaks, Swedish possibly. So yeah, let's go. We can hear Morten's clicking, so that needs to be muted, doesn't it? So he defended the ace 3 of diamonds. Oh wow, no 4 colour deck, Morten. What is going on, sir? What is going on with the no 4 colour deck? That's going to tilt me a little bit. So it looks like we're going to check raise here with a nut flush draw against a player we know nothing about. De Geert, I've never heard of him. I played some like 5 and 10 snap, but I'm not at all familiar with any of the pool unless I see some players I played at higher stakes dropping down into it. I don't know this guy from a hole in the wall. He's c-bet around half pot here. I think we can just go with a call here. Not sure we necessarily need to raise. I don't think people are that good at bet folding top pairs in these games, especially on boards as well connected as this. So I'm not sure what we're trying to make fold here. We're certainly not going to make a king fold. Does a 10 bet? If he's any good, a 10 doesn't bet. If he's rubbish, then a 10 probably might bet fold. If he's got to draw himself, which we block, but in diamonds, but there's certainly like 8 nines, jack queens, ace jacks, jack nines. There's lots of draws he can have that aren't going to be meant to fold, and of course we're ahead of them. But it makes things more difficult. If he was like 3 bet us, we would probably need to call and hope to hit, or maybe just go all in and probably get our money in versus range in an all-in situation here as an underdog. And I think because his bet's so small at half pot, I think we can just call here. I don't hate the raise, but I'd rather raise here with like a smaller flush draw on a board where he's going to have less strong hands in his range. He can have like a decent amount of strong hands even this week. I certainly have more strong hands than we can have, I would imagine. He can have like ace king, we can have that king queen, we can maybe have that. He can have sets of 10s, sets of 7s, we can have both of those things, but by and large it's the board that's going to favour the middle position raiser over the small blind. And versus the half pot bet, I think I'd just like to call personally. And if I was going to raise here, I'd much rather have like a hand like 8-9 or jack queen, something like that. Some of that has less showdown value. This doesn't have much showdown value, but some of that has a bit less showdown value that I don't mind just getting away from if we get 3 bet. If we get 3 bet here, just say we make it 51 like we're going to by the looks of things, and he then makes it at like 140, it starts to get ugly. We call, miss, check, fold a lot, or we jam and run into at least ace king most of the time. Rarely get it in good. Yeah, I think I would just call here personally and bluff with some of my weaker holdings. But we do go for the raise and we get it through. Yeah, I'm not into this two colour deck, Morten. That needs to be addressed. Just make too many mistakes. Just talk about this for a moment, I guess. When we have the four colour deck, it's not so bad if you just one or two tabling like Morten typically does, but you can just make mistakes. Too many mistakes in terms of like thinking you've got a flush when you haven't, or missing when you've got a flush when you have, and just little things like that. You can miss seem like potentially flushes that have got there when you've got a strong hand, but you don't realise the flushes, potential flushes out there when it is, and yeah, it just gets. There's no reason in this day and age. There's no reason to be just using a two colour deck. Just get the four colour deck up and eliminate the possibility of making some mistakes. Here we have a flush on a paired straightening board. I think we can make a pretty chunky value bet here. I'm not sure how the hand went down, to be fair, so let's go back and see. We've raised. We flop a flush draw. I think I personally would check back there, but we've gone for the bet. And then we get there. We should make a big bet here. This board is just like really, really good for getting calls on. I mean, if he's got a 9, he's never folding. If he's got a 10, maybe he folds sometimes. If he's somehow got a straight, he's never folding. Of course, he can have some full houses, which are going to fuck us over, but that's just poker sometimes. And he can have some lower flushes from time to time. So we need to make a nice, big, chunky bet here, upwards of 70 cents, in my opinion. We want to be trying to build a big pot and get some good value for our not nutted, but very strong hand. Yeah, I think that's too small, buddy. And we're just missing value. If he does have a 9, we're giving him better odds on his call to improve past us. Easy fold here with the 9s, I think. Looks like Morten's not going to find it. Problem here with calling Morten, if that's what you're going to do, is that we're up against two relatively strong ranges. Under the gun's open 3x, buttons 3-bet. In these games, do I think there's a ton of like loose opens under the gun? Possibly. Do I think there's a lot of loose 3-betting from the button? Probably not. So we have two 9s here. We're not even certain if we're guaranteed to see a flop. If we know he's definitely calling in the big in the under the gun position, maybe it's just about okay to try and set mine, because our implied odds, one would hope, would be significantly improved. But we're not guaranteed to see a flop here. We could call here. This dude could just come up and make it like 130, 160, something like that, and just blast us out of the hand. I think in this spot, folding's by far the best option. Calling's okay if you think this guy's weak, but by and large, I think just folding here. 4-betting, getting it in would just be immensely spewy. Calling, we're not, as I say, we're not guaranteed to see a flop. So again, especially in a high rake environment, I would be looking to fold this in this exact situation. I don't really cold call 3-bets very often at all. Usually if I'm cold calling a 3-bet, I've got a huge hand and I'm just trying to trap someone who thinks too aggressive or out of line too often. So this wouldn't be a call for me. That's an enormous bet in a 3-bet pot. And this guy's clearly not good at poker. And we have to check fold. Just to give you some information on Morten for anyone who's like thinking, oh, this guy's making some mistakes or whatever. He has already been playing poker for a matter of months, so he certainly wouldn't be as experienced as most people who watch the channel. So please do bear that in mind if you see anything that you're not a fan of. I do not like this defend at all with King 5 offsuit. We're playing in like a relatively high rake environment. This hand is awful. I get we're ahead of some of his range. You can have a lot of worse hands in King High here that's opening the button, but the hand just plays so utterly, awfully post flop. We're going to make way too many mistakes with it. in terms of like maybe flopping bits and pieces and just passively leaking money. And we're almost never going to win a good pot with this hand. You know, I mean, fine if it comes down 5-5 king and he has, you know, I don't know, 5-6 or something. But you need a miracle. You need like a real Hail Mary of a hand to make any money with this. It's a really bad defend. I don't care that we're getting a really good price pre-flop. We're getting a really good price pre-flop to buy something we just don't want. This should definitely have been a fold. Two kings. This is a Reggie time sort of hand. So we flop the overpair in a multi-way pot on a pretty well connected board, to be fair. And we've got the trips over here, so we'll do the kings first, then we'll go back to the trips. There's loads and loads of draws out here, loads of flush draws, every straight draw you can imagine, up to like Queen 9, down to like 5-6, 6-4. There's a whole plethora of draws out here, and we could seriously use like some protection for our hand and really charge people, with worse hands to stay in either Jack X or draws. It's multi-way. I would not be betting less than 40 cents here. If we get raised, it's going to be pretty grim, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Too small, mate. This just like half pot thing. You need to put a bit more thought into your sizing than just using these that generic buttons down here. That's something definitely you might want to think about next time you play. Because if we'd have made this much bigger now, that's a really good turn. Probably one of the best turns in the deck for us, if not the best turn in the deck. It's an offsuit deuce. And if we'd have put an extra 15 cents on our C-bet, and he'd have called the extra 15 cents, and that'd be 125 in here, and we could be making a, say, I don't know, $1 to $1.10 value bet here instead of maybe making what's going to be like 60. So we're already like 10 big blinds down on the amount of value we can get on this turn because of our weak flop C-bet sizing. Much better this time, but still not as big as I would have liked to see it. And we get the fold anyway, so I guess it's a moot point in general, but nevertheless, it's bet sizing's important. You know, when we have strong hands on connected boards, bet sizing's really important. We can't just like, oh, that'll do, because that's what bad regulars do. Good regulars look at board textures and choose genuinely good, appropriate sizings, not just, there's my half pot bet, let's bet and see what happens. We could just do so much better than that, and attention to detail is really important. And I'm not sure how much attention you paid to the situation there, other than overpair, let's bet. We were multi-way on a very connected board, and it just warranted a much larger bet size in my opinion. Here we are with the ace-4. We've gone back to this now, so we're ignoring the kings on this table. We flop trip 4s again in a multi-way pot. This time it's a very, very dry board. It's hard for anyone to have too much that can call 3 streets, but at the same time, you know, it's really hard to imagine at least one person wouldn't call us here on this board. Pretty dry board. Like there's a bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't know what the word is. No, I'm not even going to try and say words. I look like a thick cunt. But we've got two things conflicting here. Normally on these dry board textures, you're going to want to c-bet with quite a high frequency using quite a low sizing, and then conversely, in multi-way pots, you're usually going to want to bet at a really low frequency, but using a really big sizing with like the strongest parts of your range. Here we have a multi-way pot on a dry board, so we've got like two conflicting things coming up. In terms of like dry board, we want to bet small. Multi-way pot with something really strong, we want to bet big. So which one's going to win in this situation? And for me, it would be going with the small bet first and then like pumping it up on later streets. I would just be putting a bet out here of like 25 cents, something like that. And if we get action, I would definitely upsize on later streets because, you know, people aren't going to put us on 4x very much from our under the gun raising range. So my instinct here is not to go with like a big bet because if we go too big, it's not going to be too hard for someone to put us on like aces or kings or something like that, and maybe make some decent folds with hands that we'd like them to stay in the pot with, like pocket eights, pocket sevens, 10x, stuff like that. So first, to begin with here, I'd be setting up with like a 25 to 30 cent bet, and then if we do get called, upsizing on the turn. So what does Morten go with? 27. I like it. And we only get called in one spot. And he called really quickly. Now I think I'd be looking to target the 10x in his range, or something better than 10s. Maybe yes, a hand like pocket jacks here that just didn't 3-bet pre. The 6 does bring a couple of draws in on the turn, but he's not that likely to have any backdoor draws here. It's like he's not likely to have 10-9, for example, or 7-5. I guess he could maybe sometimes float like an ace-high backdoor flush draw here or something, but it's such a small part of his range. We don't want to worry about like giving draws a good price here. What would I be doing? What size would I be using? I think I'd be going up to like 70 here, something like that. Yeah, I think 70 seems reasonable. Good stuff. And then the backdoor flush gets out in the end, and it's a king, which is kind of really shit for us. Not because it beats us very often, because it just probably doesn't. But the types of hand we were hoping to get value from, 10x, pocket 9s, maybe a slow play pocket jacks, all of them are going to have a real hard time calling here when the backdoor flush and the king hits, and given the fact they're probably already aware that we can have some like pocket aces, pocket queens, pocket kings, so it's going to be really quite hard to get value here. So what would I do? The problem is if we check and they do have pocket 9s or 10x, they're just going to check back. Sometimes we can go with a check to plan to like catch some bluffs here, but I'm just not sure what bluffs he can have, unless he's the sort of person who's going to take a hand like pocket 7s and turn it into a bluff, which we just don't know. And I think that the player pool in general aren't doing that. I think checking's out of the question. We need to bet a size here that makes it really hard for him to fold with a hand that's like 10x and maybe pocket 9s folds all the time. I'd be looking to go 1/3 pot here, so what's that going to be, like 80 cents, 85 cents, certainly less than $1 here, I think. If we get raised, we just have to call and run into a full house a lot, I guess, like the very occasional coolers that we're going to be up against. Yeah, but I'd be looking to bet 80 cents to $1, certainly no more. Slightly too much for my taste, and why he's gone all in. Now we're probably fucked here. It's probably like, you know, when we get raised on the river, having been called twice on boards like this, there's just so few bluffs our opponent can have. We have a like really, really strong hand here, obviously. But if this guy's value raising, then we're fucked, probably, because he's not value raising. Maybe he's got a worse 4, but it seemed on like 5-4 or something. 5-4 suited. But we're probably fucked here, but we're getting just too good of a price, I think. I mean, maybe he's just got a hand like ace king and thinks he's improved past our whatever. I think we have to pay off here. I think it's not a particularly profitable situation at all. I don't see our opponent having any pure bluffs here, or many pure bluffs at all. So we just have to hope that we're beating some of his value raises. If we're going to make the call here, if we're calling here just to catch bluffs and bluffs alone, then we're not making anywhere near enough money just on it based on his bluff catches. So you have to hope here he does sometimes have a hand like 5-4 suited, 3-4 suited. Maybe he's got there with like king queen of spades or something. Like that, have king queen of spades. Fuck knows. You have to hope he's like maybe got kings and 10s or something, and he's now just thinks he's got the best hand. Yeah, I think we're going to lose a lot here, but I think it's one of the situations when we just need to pay it off and feel really dirty about it. I don't hate that fold at all, sir. I don't hate it at all. I think I'd have gone for the lot there and felt really dirty about it. Well, that's an impressive laydown, sir. Good that you, even if it's incorrect in that spot to make that laydown, even if he was bluffing, the fact you've got them sort of laydowns in your locker um, is very promising. Really is very promising because not many people are making that fold or even thinking about making that fold. So the fact you even thought about it was good, but the fact you made it bodes well for the future, because I think leaning towards overfolding in these games rather than paying off too much. If you're going to make a mistake in these games, slightly making a mistake slightly more towards overfolding rather than paying off too much is going to be much less of a like long-term mistake to make. So yeah, I do not hate that fold at all. Although I suspect there'll be some people watching the video who probably won't like it. Right, what just happened there? When we had the 8-9 and we folded to a check raise, but I didn't see the sizing, and we got the jacks here. Wow, a lot going on in this video. Am I going back too far or something? We'll do the 8-9. I didn't go back far enough. So we've raised with 8-9 suited middle position, obviously completely standard. We flop a gut shot, and we obviously c-bet like we should. Anything around half pot seems reasonable. And we get min raised. We can't fold here, but we have a gut shot, we have a backdoor flush draw, and we are getting not great direct odds, but we're still getting 5 to 1 ish. Is it 5 to 1? Something like that, I don't know. But yeah, this is way too nitty to fold here. I mean, if he does have the type of hand he's supposed to have here, which is like a set of fives or a set of sixes, or 5-6, king 5, king 6 suited, we can improve past them and get tons and tons of value from them. And who knows, he might just be fucking around. We might call here, he might just check the turn and allow us to realise all of our equity. This fold, whereas the ace 4 fold was really, in my opinion, very good. Showed immense discipline. This is perhaps doing too much folding. If this size was bigger, if he'd made this like 62 or something, then yeah, just throw our hand away, who cares? But when he's just min raised, I think we need to be seeing a turn. Club's good for us, four's good for us, obviously a sevens and nuts. So yeah, we need to be defending versus this min raise buddy, I'm afraid, but we didn't. We have the 2 jacks here, standard c-bet on the flop. And we get a call. And then he leads the turn. That's interesting. He leads the turn quite small here. Now, if he'd led the turn bigger, I'd be happy just calling. If he'd made this like 45 instead of 15, I'd be very happy just calling here. As played, with the sizes, I think we need to raise. I mean, it's going to suck if we get 3-bet. If we I think we need to raise to something in the region of 70 here, 75. If he 3-bets us, it's going to be grim because it's likely jacks are going to be in trouble then versus a check called donk. Then 3-bet line. I don't like it. I wouldn't like our jacks at all, but there's just too much chance we have the best hand here. He might just be trying to block bet with like a 7-8 type hand or something like that. So I think we need to make it 70 and cross our fingers that the 3-bet doesn't come. If 3-bet does come, we have to strongly consider folding. But this bet's just too small for us to consider slow playing and just like trapping, if you will. I just seen his stack size, and I didn't notice that on the turn. I think if we do raise the turn, we have to go with it versus that stack size. So ignore the bet fold bit. And on the river here, when he bets, I think I would have jammed. And it's unfortunate we've seen his cards, but given his stack size, there's just going to be too much chance. I mean, it turns out he's got fuck all. But there's too much chance this guy's just going to pay us off with the 7 on the river or whatever. So yeah, I would have 3-bet. I would have raised a turn with the view of not folding versus stack size. My mistake. I should absolutely have noticed his stack size. Excuse me. So we should have raised the turn and just got it in. And on this river, when he bets pretty quick like he did, I think we should just have jammed for value, because I'm not expecting guys who take these weird lines and have weird stack sizes to be making any big folds, and we can get too much value with our jacks. So I think you've maybe been a little bit too passive in that hand, sir. Just fold the jack 8, buddy. See what we do with the 6s here. Checking back's reasonable. And if he checks the turn, just bet twice to hopefully elicit some folds from pocket 7s through like pocket 9s, pocket 10s, that type of thing. He's always going to check call once with those types of hands. If we check back flop and then he checks turn and we bet, so we need to fire twice here. I don't think 6s, well, maybe they have enough showdown value, but I think I would be checking back here just in case he's kind of doing something elaborate with a strong hand. And if he checked again in the turn, I'd be looking to bet turn, bet river. I think that's a safer option than just trying to check down and then being annoyed when he wins with pocket 7s or something like that. And so he bets half pot. I'm not convinced by his line here, but there's just not much we can do. I don't think he's going to be too strong very often, but he's likely to be in reasonable shape versus our exact hand. Yeah, I'm not sure what this line is saying to me, to be honest with you. Who knows? But he's checked, then just bet half pot. It looks to me like he's trying to get some thin value with something, or I don't know, feel a betting. Who knows what he's fucking doing? But I'm not convinced by his line that he's very strong. But we just don't need to do anything here with 2 6s, so we can just let them go. What has just gone on there? I thought it was a nothing hand. I was just watching it go along thinking, yeah, everything seems okay here. Limped pot. We check the queen 9. I think maybe we could think about betting here in a limp pot just to charge draws, protect our hand a little bit, but no big deal. He pots it. We call, excuse me. Flush gets there on the turn. He checks back. We go for some value on the river. I think this may be too thin with the flush getting there on the turn. I mean, the 6 is kind of an irrelevant card on the river because he's probably not limping a 6 and potting it. Yeah, I guess I don't hate the bet here. I'd rather block here, like bet fold than check call, maybe a larger bet. So yeah, I think it's fine. And then he just had aces that he shit his pants with, so more fool him. Completely fine with giving up here multi-way, especially against these sort of stack sizes. Not sure I love this bet, even if it works. I'm not sure I love it. We're playing against people who are likely to be pretty passive, pretty sticky, pretty shit. I'm trying to bluff these people with, I guess we've picked up a flush draw and 2 overcards, but I don't think that bet gets anywhere near enough folds, and we're not going to be able to follow through on very many rivers whatsoever. I think I'd have been fine just giving up there, buddy, personally. So we flopped a set on a very dry board here. It can be really tempting to check raise here, which in a vacuum I do not hate in the slightest, because if our opponent does have an ace, then it's the best way to go about things. But if we want to be thinking about being balanced here and what have you, which I don't think is an issue in these games, but just to touch on the subject anyway, there's just so few draws out here that we shouldn't really have too much of a raising range on this board, because we don't really have any of the strong hands here. We don't have 3 queens, we don't have 3 aces, we don't have ace queen very often because we just call pre. So it's not a situation where we've got many bluffs or many value. I think we should be, if we think about being balanced, we should just check call here with pretty much all of our range. But I wouldn't. I would check raise here and just hope my opponent had an ace. And I would be like, doesn't matter about balance. We're playing 5-L. We're not worried about playing balanced poker. We like to be aware of what a balanced line would be and then think, well, should I deviate from it here? And in these games, usually the answer is going to be yes. If we have a really strong hand, we should deviate from being balanced and just focus on trying to get value. I don't think people are going to triple barrel bluff here very often. If they get check called and they don't have an ace, I think they're going to shut down a lot. So yeah, I would definitely be going for a check raise here if we get the opportunity. And we do go for the turn check raise and get the insta fold, which is unfortunate. Two tens here. We can go with 3-bet or a call. I think a lot of it would depend on what, if anything, I knew about this player, and also what, if anything, we knew about the blinds. If we think we got, like, if they had 2 fish in the blinds, then I would be just probably calling for sure. If we had 2 aggressive regulars in the blinds, then I would probably go with a 3-bet. Hope to take it down pre-flop or what have you. Hope not to get 4-bet. I think here I would call because of the presence of this fellow. Need to be checking back here with the tens. Now we can maybe go for a little bit of value, and maybe we can go for a tiny bit of value again. Not convinced by this check raise in a limp spot with the 5-4. I understand why we've done it. We've got some equity. He shouldn't have a particularly strong range on hands that's let limp the button and then wants to bet. But we don't have any really strong hands either. Obviously, we can have all like 10-3, ace-3, ace-10. Well, maybe not ace-10 actually. Possibly ace-3. I think we just call. We just like small pot, small hand. He's only min bet. I don't think we need to raise there because I don't think we're going to get him to fold much. Probably not even get him to fold a 10. So I would just have called there. Over here we should be c-betting with our cut short 2 overs and backdoor flush draw, which it looks like we're going to do. And we get raised over here. But again, it's just a min raise. We need to be calling and hoping to hit gin whilst not being coolered. And again, it looks like we're going to fall to a to a check min raise. Oh, we didn't. We found the call this time. We have to fold here if he barrels, of course. It's a pretty bad card for us. Gonna check back here with the ace-5. Keep checking, I think. And we can just call rivers or check down. Been 3-bet small here. Calls obviously best option. Then he like pot c-bets, and we just have to fold now and enjoy the amusement of his line and sizings. Right, this guy's got a fish tag, so we can definitely consider squeezing here. If we do, we need to go relatively big sizing. If I was going to squeeze here, what would I be making it? Probably close to 14, 15x, which looks like what he's going to go for. We don't have to squeeze, we can just call, but I think it's a really good spot to go for the squeeze. If this guy then just ships it on us, where we have to just call and take our flip against what's likely to be something like pocket 8s, pocket 7s, maybe sometimes we'll be fucked, but yeah, we'll be going for a squeeze here, folding to either of these guys if they put another raise in and just sign and getting it in versus the button. And did we fold or time out? I'm not sure. Nice big juicy c-bet here, please sir, against somebody's likely to be a fish. Again, nice big juicy bet, fold into a raise probably. And then here's the thing now, we've got a situation here where if we'd have made slightly bigger bets, we could just jam this river. Whereas now we can't because we haven't set up stacks properly. So let's go back and look at this again from a sizing point of view. I think it's quite important. So he's got $3.13 left. Here we bet, I think it was 21, was it? Did we bet on the flop? I'm not sure. We did. Which is fine. I don't have a big issue with 21 here. We could have maybe gone to 25 or something, but I don't have a huge issue with 21 here. But he calls another turn is the jack, which shouldn't change too much. And we look at our opponent's stack size. He's got 292 and there's 70 in the pot. So if we upsize here to say, well, it's going to be hard either way up, isn't it? But we still need to be going big here because we want to be able to make a big river value bet. I was hoping we might be able to get bet big enough where we can get stacks in on the river without it being an over bet. Looks like that isn't going to be that possible. Even if we go full pot here, it's only going to put 210 in the pot and he's still going to have 220. But I've been looking to go bigger than you did, Morten, for sure. And now we're only going to be able to go for, I don't know, something like, I mean, maybe we could just jam still and try and rep some missed draws. Yeah, I think it's still like a jam. But I would have preferred to see a bigger turn bet, which makes it more likely we'll get our river bet called too. We want to be trying to create like a pretty low SPR here for the river so we can get maximum value for our hand. Go all in, sir. That's the spirit. Chop chop, never mind. Check back with the 8s. Oh, right, so he's min-donked. The temptation here is to raise, I guess, but I wouldn't like it at all. When we see these min-donks, we just want to treat them like our opponent's checked and then respond how we would respond to a check. And here we would most certainly, well, not most certainly, but I think we should be checking back here a lot. So given that I wouldn't be betting had he checked, then I'm only going to call now that he's min-donked. That's my way of dealing with these min-donks. I just tend to ignore them, pretend my opponent's checked, and then however I would have responded to a check is how I respond to the min-donk. So I'd just be calling here and classing it as being similar to checking back. Again, I'd just be calling, and then he goes bigger, and I would just be folding now. His line doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I wouldn't be paying off. When someone goes when the fish go min-donk bigger, it's usually value. I would have found the fold there personally on the river. You need to get this C bet up. Yeah, that's fine. 47. Check back here with the ace-8, I hope. We need to be having some ace-x in our checking back range, and our weaker ace-x are going to make, especially ones that can back into some other stuff. I think this makes a good check back rather than bet. I think we bet here. I mean, we can certainly get called by worse, but we haven't got a hand we're going to be able to want to bet like multiple streets with really, and expect to be called by worse enough of the time. So this for me would be a definite check back, and then look to just call twice if our opponent starts betting, or value bet twice from the turn and river. We do elect to go for the bet. Hopefully it works out. We just get the fold. So we have two situations here. We 3-bet the king-queen suited versus the fish, which is obviously completely fine. And then we flopped pretty marginal hand here on this table. I think with the king-queen, we need to be firing a c-bet here for sure. 2 overs, backdoor everything. Don't expect to get tons of folds, but we can follow through on there's going to be plenty of good turns for us. 10, ace, king, queen, club. There's enough good turns here where we can just fire a c-bet with a view to bombing turns that are good for us and giving one turns that are bad for us. And with the jack 10, I think we have a pretty easy check and then see what happens. When we get jammed on, we just fold the king, queen. I think we should just keep checking with the jack 10. Trying to get to showdown. Right, so now let's see. He's led into us on this river. It's 4-colour deck, not in existence. So the potential flush got there. Some better 2 pairs. Occasionally some straights. I think just calling here is okay. Don't think we're going to make a ton of money just calling. But there are going to be some hands that we're beating. So I think we certainly can't fold. We just have to pay off. We've managed to keep the pot small. It's not a lot. We need to call. Sadly, we get one outed, but never mind. That's a gin turn card over here, isn't it? So we raised, we got call, we flopped the nuts, and got a bet called. I think I'd just continue going small here for the time being. I mean, there's not that much our opponent can have. Hopefully he's floated some ace highs and he can pay us off 2 streets now, but it doesn't feel like a situation where we're going to be able to win a huge pot unless it's the ultimate cooler and he's got a hand like, I don't know, any 7 in his hand, or maybe once in a while pocket deuces, or maybe the occasional float with a decent ace, but it's not a situation where I'd be looking to make big bets. I'd be looking again here, maybe make it no more than 25. I think 25 would be the extent that I would be the highest bet I'd be making here. I think 44 is too big. So you've got to think about the hands that can call us here. We block all the good hands he can have, except pocket deuces. So it's just you got to think about what can my opponent call with here, given the board's so fucking dry. And I think we just have to just keep trying to rope them along there and just try and milk the weaker hands in their range, and rather than going with a really big bet and just hoping it's the cooler time. Because if it is the cooler time and we go with a small bet, it's probably going to raise at some point anyway. So it's not going to stop us getting the money in when we're in a real cooler situation. But it's going to allow us to, by going with the smaller size, going to allow us to extract more value from the types of hand that are going to fold when we significantly upsize. Not much to say with the aces, sir. Not a lot to say there, is there? Just happy days. Give up with the 5-4 here. I would just completely give up. No pair, no draw, no backdoor equity. I would not have put another cent in this pot personally. Right, did we just fold there to like less than 2 blinds on the river with the 9s? I understand. I do understand it. But we've managed to keep the pot really, really, really small. If he does have an ace, then good for him. We're getting a fantastic price here just to defend. We're going to lose a fucking ton of the time, but I think I would still make the call here personally. But it's a very small pot, not so important, I guess. Don't like this limp. I know why you've done it, or I think I do. It's because you don't want to raise and have him jam on you. But I think it's his isolate or fold here with this hand. I don't like the over limp at all. 3 really shitty short stack players in. I think my default here would be to fold probably. Given the stack size of the people around us, none of them have got any money that's really worth winning. If we're bigger stacked, if we're all deep stacked, 100 blinds deep, it will be a like isolation raise probably 100% of the time. But we're not. Don't like the over limp. Don't like the isolation raise versus all of these stack sizes, any of which can just like he can limp jam, or these can just like jam over a 4.5x ISO. So I'll probably just make a pretty nitty fold pre-flop. We got the jam anyway, and no real damage done, I guess. I think what's becoming apparent, I think we'll mention it here actually, before I forget, is that Morten appears to be kind of not thinking on like a couple of levels above his opponents. Is more just like, this is my hand, this is what I want to do with it, without taking opponent's stack depths or their range into account. It seems to me, Morten, like you're kind of just thinking about your own hand and how your hand interacts with the board, etc., or what have you, rather than thinking about your opponent's ranges. The A7 was a good example of that, where, fuck me, I've got A7, I've got like the virtual nut, so let's make a big bet. And you weren't really thinking about what your opponent's range could be. And we've seen that in a couple of other spots where your sizing's been a little bit off, and then we saw it with the limp there. You need to think more about your opponents too, not just what your hand is and what you want to do with your hand. It's also got to be like, how does my hand interact with my opponent's ranges, stack sizes, etc. And just to give a little more thought to the types of holdings your opponents can have and the types of actions they will take versus you and the decisions you make and the sizes you choose. It's not just about big hand, big bet or what have you. It's got to be, you've got to be thinking about your opponent's range too, and then making decisions, choosing sizes that make sense versus what you think they might have, not just making sizes based on what you think of your own hand. It's a mistake I see tons and tons of players making. It's a very common mistake. A lot of really bad players do it all the time, and some of the weaker regulars, especially the weak tight type players, they'll make that kind of mistake. We don't want to be that person. We want to be the guy that's thinking not just about our hand, but thinking about how the board affects our range and how the board affects our opponent's range, and then trying to make good decisions based on all of that information and not just on one piece of the information. Have we got a hand or have we not got a hand? You need to be out there trying to put more pieces of the jigsaw together so you get a clearer picture of what's going on. So hopefully it will help you make better decisions in the long term. Anyways, we've flopped nothing here. We just probably versus this stack size, just give up. We do have some backdoor equity, but unless he min bets, I think this is just going to be a check fold. But over here, given we've flopped the absolute nizzles, I think we should be going with the bet, and I'd be looking to make it around. I've seen this image before, so I'm presuming he's a regular and presuming he's fully stacked. I'd be wanting to make this 20, something like that, and then if he does call and his bricks turns, start really upsizing, because he can have lots of relatively strong hands here too, two pairs, top pairs, pairs plus straight draws, etc. So I'd just put a 20 centre out to begin with, and if he did call, and I'd be looking to kind of use some really polarising big sizings on later streets. No. Don't flop the nuts and check back, sir. Do not do that. We need to be building pots. We need to be getting value. We can't win a big pot and have a big win rate if we don't build big pots when we've got the absolute stone nuts. That check back is... Again, I understand why you've done it. You're hoping now that he's maybe going to start betting and bluffing. I don't care about his bluffs at this point. I don't care that, if a check back he might bluff. I couldn't give a fuck about that. I'm thinking... Please call, please call, please call. There's tons and tons of hands in his big blind defending range here that can continue for 3 streets. I think by checking back, we just deny ourselves the opportunity to win a really big pot most of the time. And now we're going for the overbet on the end to try and make up for lost value. No. Just go bet big, but bet reasonable size, hope he calls, and just go bet big, bet big. And if they don't call, well, they don't call. Not much you can do about it. Didn't set man with the 5s there, which I think's probably a bit of a mistake. I think it's more to do with anything else, the speed of it. I mean, look how quickly we folded here. I know we are watching this back on a slightly faster speed, but nevertheless, we still did fold very quickly. I mean, for me, there we need to be looking at who's in the blinds, stack sizes, etc. Oh Christ, I missed it. We're not going back far enough. Fuck knows. Can't bother looking backwards and forwards for it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of set mining and speed poker as much as I am on softer games because we do get squeezed more often. But I think we should probably still be trying to do it, especially in games where there isn't. When we haven't been 3-bet very often in this session. 3-betting isn't really a massive thing. Certainly, light 3-betting isn't a massive thing at 5-0 snaps. So I think we can certainly try and see some flops and flop some sets. Obviously, just easy call off here. Unlucky we're behind, but then we suck out anyway, which is beautiful. Right, we've been donked into here with the ace queen on a not great board for us, and a board that significantly favours. Right, hang on. We haven't been dunked into. I think we just called a raise, didn't we? So we called a raise, and then he's. I don't know. Let's go back and look. I don't want to misread that. Right, we've 3-bet pre-flop. So we've 3-bet pre-flop, which is obviously completely fine. Our opponent then decides to donk for 1/3 pot. We can't fold here. I mean, he's going to have a lot of like medium pairs here that he's fucking arsing around with. Maybe some sets occasionally, maybe some stronger pairs like jacks and queens and things, but we can't fold for this price. We need to see a turn. Raising would just be too spewy. Folding would be too nitty. So let's see a turn. If he donks again, we just have to give up, unfortunately. Yeah, just fold now, buddy. So we're nearly at the end of Morten's video. Just a minute or so to go. We're going to end with a set. We like that. Again here, multi-way pot. Just go big. I hope someone's got the ace. We don't block the ace very much. I mean, yeah, we block ace queen, but who cares about that? Just go big here. Multi-way pot, middle set. No one's going to fold an ace. Maybe king jack, king 10 don't fold either. Yeah, just get it up there. 35 minimum, if not more. No, Morten. Fine, you've induced a bet here. We need to raise now and just hope that we don't get any credit for having a weird line. I mean, I guess we've made up for the fact that we didn't bet the flop by getting a raising on the turn, but you seriously need to stop this checking back nutted stuff, buddy. It's microstakes poker. It's 5-L. People just aren't into folding. You know, it's just there's no reason. The way these games play, and let's just rewind this back a little bit so we don't have like a. That looks better. The way to crush these games isn't by setting elaborate traps and inducing bluffs, because the games are quite passive. So you don't want to be checking strong hands to induce bluffs in games where people don't bluff very often, but do but are calling stations. You kind of, I mean, the king queen and the pocket queens there, fair enough. We might not have won much more with either of them if you'd taken a different line, but long term you're going to win a lot more by just making strong hands value bet. Make strong hand value bet. You have to be aware of what a balanced strategy looks like, but then use that awareness of what a balanced strategy looks like to deviate versus like the player pool and know why you're doing it. I think you've been a bit too cute there in a couple of spots. Again, like we talked about earlier, I think you're kind of just playing your hand in a vacuum of like, right, I've got a really strong hand, I want to either let my opponents catch up or let them bluff, without really putting much thought into the types of hands they might bluff with. Like on the queen ace 4 board, what bluffs are they going to have there on the turn? You know, if they've got an ace, they're going to check call your bet anyway. If they don't have an ace and they don't have a queen, which is unlikely, they're probably just going to check fold, maybe by checking you get them to stab once with nothing, and you get to pick up like a really small bet on the turn that you wouldn't have picked up by betting, but that is no way compensating you for the amount of value you're missing from the plethora of ace X that either of those players can have. People just defend all kinds of like crap ace X stuff in these games, and then they don't fold it very much when they flop an ace. So when you flop middle set on an ace side board, you should be crossing both your fingers, all of your toes, and just saying, look, please have the ace, and just make 3 large bets. Do not be like going with checking nutted hands in these games, because you're just going to be hurting yourself, buddy. But thank you very much for the video. I am looking forward to working with you. I've definitely noticed some things we can work on, and which will help you much more when we are working together more interactively than just doing this type of thing. But yeah, it's going to be fun working with you, and hopefully some more of you guys who watch the channel will be motivated to make your own video now, because at the moment I've got no more videos left. If I don't get any more videos sent in, I'm not sure when my next video will be released, because as we talked about in a few videos back, I won't be making live play videos going forward, or very unlikely to be making live play videos going forward. So please, I'm in need of some help with the content. So if somebody please could send me a video in so I can produce a video and deliver it next week, that would be fantastic. But for now, take care everybody. Have a great weekend if you're watching it on the day of release. Be lucky, and bye bye for now.